You know, we've talked about this. Jay Jaggers talked about it this morning. These matches, as we start off here at 125 pounds with Peyton Fenton on the gray team and Brendan McCrone in the red team, these wrestle-offs are a good way to get a look at where your wrestlers are right now, but these are not the be-all, end-all, correct?
No, I mean it's a critical. It's we discussed this. It's a critical data point. I think most teams around the country, college wrestling teams, most of them have wrestle-offs, and it's an early season test. You want to see your student athletes against outside competition as well, but it's a point. It's a data point in the long, grueling, challenge to be a starter at a place like Ohio State. So we'll watch this. We'll go to Clarion on November 5th, and those two data points will tell us who's going to wrestle against Virginia Tech. And of course, with the new freshman rule, last year was new. The fact you can wrestle them up to 5 times. So it really, between this and again the Clarion Open, we'll determine who we'll put on the mat against Virginia Tech. That's it. No more than that. It's again, we want a group of guys that believe the culture and the team is believe that if they're not the best guy at the end of the year, then they shouldn't be representing the Scarlet and Gray. So that's a culture that we've worked hard to build, and that's the one that these guys all understand.
Yeah, Coach. You said that McGrone had spelled Malik quite a bit last year, or at least while Malik was nursing injuries. Looking back on some of the competition that he was involved in, it looked like he fared pretty well, represented himself pretty well, and it looked like a 9-4 record, and then perhaps even some 6-1 in unattached. Tell us a little bit about McGrone's strengths.
I mean, you can see how long he is, right? He's long. He's got he's scrambly. He's not easy to take down cleanly, and he's very good on top. He's a state champion out of Ohio, and this sport in this state, and you can see by just the wrestle-off crowd, this sport is deeply rooted in this state. Over 400 high schools have the sport in this state. It's one of the premier states in the country. So he's an accomplished wrestler, tough on top, scrambly. Growing. I think the big thing for a lot of these young guys is just growing in their belief. They may not have been the number one recruit in the country at a high school, but as we all know, there's plenty of 3-stars in the NFL, right? And there's, in fact, I believe there's more 3-stars than 5-stars, right? So not to pigeonhole yourself into a mindset that I wasn't the elite recruit and that I couldn't catch some of these guys who were ahead of me in high school. So again, he represents himself well. He's a great student. He works hard. He's very coachable. McCrone's fighting for a spot. This is an interesting weight for us. Of all the weights, I'd probably say this is probably the most interesting weight for us. We've got these two, and then one of our big recruits this year was Vinny Kilcarry. He lost on a stalling call in the first round of wrestle-offs, and we'll watch him at Clarion before we decide on what we're going to do.
Well, that was the thing I was going to mention. There's a guy that's not even in this wrestle-off tonight that there's a chance sees significant time this year.
Yeah, he could. Obviously we can use him in those 5. If he proves that he's better than these two, and then maybe even have him in full time. So it's early. Brendan is a redshirt freshman. Of course, Peyton's a redshirt freshman, and Vinny's a true freshman. So we've got some youth here.
Something you mentioned a while ago that's, I don't know if it's specific to wrestling, but over the course of a season, your guys in the room know who the best guy is. Not just, I match up better against this guy. When you practice every single day, by the time you've gone through 4 months of battling, pretty much everybody in that room knows who the best guy is. And with few exceptions, you probably know who the starter probably should be, right?
Yeah, I think time teaches you a lot. You learn a lot through time. You look see their habits, right? Not only, their habits, you see them against multiple competitors, 25, 30 matches against, other competition. And you start to really learn a lot about them. It's not too often, where a true competitor in the room is going to just relinquish the spot and say he's better than me. Typically, and if that's who you are, then normally you're not.
This is not the place.
This is not the place for you. So, these guys, this weight class, it'll be interesting. They'll battle it out for a while, I think, all year long before we determine, what we're going to do. Unless someone just really develops and really starts to shine.
McCrone with a reversal there, up 2-0 here in the second period. Here's a quick question before I let Nick jump back in here. You're the head coach at one of the top wrestling programs in the country. How challenging is it for you And have you ever had to say to a kid, this is not the place for you, that was in the room?
Yeah, I mean, recently we've had a couple of guys transfer out. We help them. We help them find a place that is suitable for them. Often they've got their undergraduate degree and they'll transfer and get their master's someplace else. But the Coons brothers were both All-Americans this year in Division III. They went and wrestled for their high school coach. So yeah, we have tough conversations with people, and of course they're welcome to stay. But sometimes there's just a better road for them, and we want to make sure that we open up those roads for all of our guys. We want what's best for them. I think the general philosophy is if you're doing what's best for each person. He's in a little pickle here. He looks like he might be able to cradle here. He's holding on too long. Wow.
We got a stall call there? What do we got?
Did he give a reversal or no?
I did not know. No reversal went up. I think it was a stall call.
I saw the stall warning right at the, that was.
Well, and you mentioned the length of McCrone. Fenton's not short and stocky either.
No, and I think we're also seeing, when we watch these guys in practice, they've looked a little bigger than they are right now. It's our first weigh-in. We gave them a +1. And this is really, on November 12th, we'll open up here at home against Edinburgh. And this is just a chance to get them in the arena, on the stage, in a 1-hour weigh-in, dealing with the stress. And we're looking for people that deal with it really well. And so it's got a whole bunch of reasons why we do it. And this is where he's pretty tough. So,
Coach, as an aside, how hard has it been? How many times have you yelled 2 when you've seen a takedown in the room this year?
Well, Nick, you know me well. I'm a very slow learner. It's been a couple hundred times, and the guys are like, Coach, that was 3.
That's right. No, we're going to go through those growing pains as well. Just calling matches. You said that McGrone, one of his strengths was that he's a very good scrambler. When he puts in legs the right way, he's pretty effective. What are some of the strengths of Peyton and what went into his transfer? Not understanding that he wrestled at Virginia last year.
Yeah, he was a UVA. Yeah, he's a Brecksville boy. Loves Ohio. He's a homegrown Buckeye. He went to Virginia, which is a great institution. Just got homesick. Wanted to come home, wanted to be closer to home, and he called us and said, "Hey, look, I'm leaving. Would you have an interest?" And of course, we'd love to have you. You're from a great program, great high school coach there that develops a lot of great talent. We've got Brock Herman in our room as well. Yeah, he's tough.
That's an area that a lot of people forget about when you mentioned the kid got homesick. People go all across the country. They get recruited to go to these places. And just because there's a spot for you in the lineup doesn't mean it's a great fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we're recruiting someone out of state, you challenge them with, this is what life's going to be like here, You're away. And it just – sometimes you think you can handle it until you're away, and you got to feel it. You got to really feel it. So, I think he chose down, which he looks like he's going to end up down.
Yeah, that was a listen. You need points, but he didn't get any. Got ridden out for 2 entire periods, did Fenton. So that's a 2-0 win for Brendan McCrone here in the 125-pound wrestle-off. And again, that doesn't settle anything, but that kind of puts him at the head of the class right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, Nick mentioned we had him in the starting lineup a couple times. He grew. He really, that freshman year was big for him. He looks different. His body looks different. He's stronger than he was, and not a surprise. Not a pretty a way that you think that match might have gone. Fenn was a little quicker on his feet. McCrone is hard to finish on. This is a big match right here.
This is a good one. In the on the gray team, Nick Bazakis and Andre Gonzalez in the red singlet. Obviously, the hype behind Bazakis coming to campus last year, getting some time in the matches again with those 5 you're allowed to use a guy before you put him into a red shirt. But Gonzalez got some time as well and showed some pretty strong skill.
I mean, he's tough. We last minute really when Malik was injured, last minute we tried to get him down to 25. He went down to 25 and he just struggled down there. He's just too big for the weight. So Andre's up at 33. This'll be a he had a good summer of training and Nick comes in as this huge recruit. So we'll see how this goes.
what's fascinating is, everybody knows, obviously, what Nick brings to the table and the type of recruit he was coming out of coming out of high school. Right here, Gonzalez was not a schlep coming out of high school. I believe a double Fargo champ, and this, sometimes it's easy to, Nick Buzakis, he's one of the big names, for lack of a better way of putting it, at Ohio State. But if you look at the resume of Gonzalez, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, like you said, he's a California kid, far away for him to come, and like you said, he doubled in Fargo, he won the states in high school. He's got a tremendous work ethic. Loves the sport, and when you're at a place like this, sometimes you run into someone that's pretty darn tough too. He's a big wrestler.
One of the things I always admire about the coaching staff here at Ohio State is the talk of growth, not of the wrestlers but of the coaching staff as well. And something you mentioned about with Gonzalez, he wasn't comfortable, he couldn't compete at 125. Think back to some of the other guys that have been here, Luke Pletcher, and now some guys this year moving up in weight classes. And, there was some talk of Sammy moving up in weight class to where they're maybe better for themselves. They'll have a gas tank. How much of a learning process as a coaching staff has there been to maybe put a guy in that position?
Yeah, sometimes the only place you can get in the lineup is you got to get in the lineup, right?
Right.
And sometimes it's the best. What's the best chance you win the national tournament? An example, we're going to see at 84, right? Hoffman's been at 97 for a couple of years, but he wants to win. And you look at 97, it's as deep as it's been since I've been in coaching, 30 years of coaching. So it's a deep weight. So he's going to, Hoffman's going to come down to. He's
a big boy.
He's big. He's going to be a tough cut, but he wants to finish with a title, and that's his best chance. So he'll drop. But we do a lot of assessing their body fat and what weight is actually best for them. You talk about a guy like Mike Pasillo. Mike Pasillo was a national champ for us years back. He's certified at 165, won the nationals at 184. He just felt better with a little bit of size on him. And then you deal with, if you're strong enough to move up those weights, the guys are not as they're not as quick, right? They're not as fast. So this is kind of going the way.
How much, Coach, do some of the obviously Jagger's on staff, Rollins has been on staff in the past. How many times do the former Buckeye wrestlers stop in the room, or just to, if they're young enough, to bang with the guys themselves, or just to kind of stop in and keep connected to the program?
Yeah, I talked to Tommy Rollins a lot. Obviously, he's a great wrestling mind. Was one of the legends, not only here but in the sport. And he's got boys that wrestle. His kids are really tough, and he's just fully entrenched in the sport still, despite the fact that he's done really well in business. He's just a great mind to talk to. So he comes around quite a bit. With his kids getting a little bit older, he come around a little bit more. But Phil, another honorary coach. The house I bought when I moved out here was 5 doors down from him, and what a blessing that was. He's been a tremendous friend and supporter. So, people that wrestled here really have fond memories here, and they love the place. And they want to help, they want to give back, and want to see us do well.
Nick Buzakis with the only takedown in the first period. Gonzalez had an escape, so it's 3-1 here in the second. Buzakis just seems to do everything very well.
Well, he's like right here. He's just really dangerous. He's just so strong. This will be if Andre can get out of this, it'll be really impressive. He's got good hips, Andre here, but Nick is when he gets his right hand came a little bit too high. Let's see if he lowers it just a little bit around the waist. There he goes, and he's pretty. He just got it caught up by the shoulder. When he gets it around the waist, he's pretty powerful there.
And there's no panic.
No, he's been in that position a lot. It's kind of like it's his bread and butter position, and he's got a lot of reps in that position. His muscle memory is pretty good there.
Coach, how healthy? Kind of going through a little bit of the health as far as some of the wrestlers go that we know are nursing some things. How close are some of the guys that are out? How close are they to coming back?
Yeah, they're close. They're close. They could all be at Clarion. They could all be at Clarion. Hebner's been out the longest. This is interesting here. Let's see if he picks this up. Hebner's been out the longest. We probably, he probably won't wrestle at Clarion. Let's see if he adjusts the position. Let's see what he does here. Hoffman, he's on his way down, so not sure when we'll
Well, this is just an interesting scramble.
Yeah, I'm just kind of watching.
I'm not sure. They're both trying to make the small adjustments. I don't know how long this will go before we get a stalemate here, but as long as they continue to work toward it, the referee will let them work. But that's the chess match,
yeah,
right?
And then Carson will be back early next week, so he should be at Clarion. Gotcha. So, nothing major, thank God, nothing major. Just didn't make sense.
Well, and that's a guy that's had nothing but bad luck in terms of injuries.
Yeah, he's been hurt. He's been hurt a couple times. This one is very minor, but it was enough that we were not allowed to put him in the wrestle off, and he couldn't wrestle off.
Coach, obviously the big story over the summer was Sammy Sasso. How's Sammy doing? What is there? Obviously the most important thing came true, right? He's it could have been much worse. How's Sammy doing?
I mean, he's here tonight. He's it's amazing the journey, right? I've seen this guy on in the last 60 days in regards to his recovery, and he was doing well, and then he really dipped. Things were really scary again, and then now he's doing so well. His therapy is he's got this deep desire to compete again, and I don't know how many people when they're wounded like that have this desire to compete at a collegiate level again. He has this carrot that he just won't. He just refuses to not wrestle again. In fact, I talked to the surgeon, and he told me he'll wrestle on his knees if he has to, but he's wrestling again. That's his mindset, right? And when you have that mindset, you heal faster. Right? We're going to see Feldman right later on tonight, who had a severe injury, but there's just so much truth and positivity.
As
right?
someone on the outside looking, it's just kind of been amazing watching how much support he's gotten from that. You even referenced it a couple days ago, just the support that he has gotten from the Ohio State community, not even just wrestling community, probably primarily the wrestling community, but even beyond that.
I mean, the world is there's
well, that's a good level change.
Forward roll about. Look at that. There's some evil and there's some beauty, man. And we went through the Sasso thing. We've seen the love that a man can have for another, and from the letters and the texts and the GoFundMe page, just making sure that he had the best care he could get. It's been awesome. It's been awesome, and it's a testament to a lot of the people in his life that he's helped along the way. Sammy's just a loving guy and has given a lot to people. So I think it helped him. I know it helped him. It helped him a ton. So he's going to try to throw him, I'm sure.
That's great. And with that Greco background.
Yeah.
No,
he actually is decent there.
And for the guy that he's wrestling, I mean, I think he's representing himself. Obviously it's 7-3, but
that's not as lopsided a score as it used to be, though, right? Because that's only 2 takedowns.
Yeah. No,
right.
that's about. I mean, they know each other. They know each other really well.
Now it's 7-6.
Well, Gonzalez got the takedown there at the end and tried to let Nick up, but he stuck it out. So a 7-6 final there. And listen, Coach, you said it. It was going to be close.
Yeah. I mean, he got out of a couple of pickles, and Andre did a good job getting that last takedown. And that was interesting at the end there.
Yes.
I mean, it could have been 1, and
it could have been 1 and 3. If the referee awards the 1, then all of a sudden it's a very different thing. Well, Coach, I know you've got you're with us for a couple. Very glad to have you along. Yeah. We'll talk to you again down the line.
Good to be with you guys.
Thanks, Coach. All right, so that takes us now to 141 pounds, and this is going to be another very interesting match. Really Nick, you've got Brandon Cannon, who is a freshman, born in Ohio, came up in Ohio, but then moved to Colorado. And, boy, he's had a long and winding road, and he's taken on a guy in the red singlet, Jesse Mendez, who is a tough customer. Returning All-American, is a true freshman, and so he's got his work cut out for him. But Cannon won his wrestle-off match in under 20 seconds with a fall. This is a guy who was not able to compete, Cannon, in high school for 2 years because of a tumor
on his spine.
Yeah, right. And then that laid him up for over a year. And then his junior year had a kidney infection that kept him out for a lot of the season, and then still wound up placing third, and there was a state champion last year. So he has dealt with an awful lot of adversity over the course of his life, and he's got some more adversity here trying to take down Jesse Mendez.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody's a Buckeye fan out there, or even just a college wrestling fan, they know who Jesse Mendez is. top recruit coming out of Indiana last year as a true freshman. Some of the people that he knocked off. I think one of his first big wins in college was over returning two-time All-American Max Bird from Illinois. That said, you know, it's just so impressive, the continuity, as you know, that's required in this sport, as far as just going to practice day in and day out, and not and to have been laid up for, you know, huge parts of 2 years during his high school career. It's just talking about Brandon, obviously.
Right.
It's just amazing that this kid is out here competing at such a high level, and it just kind of makes you want to root for the kid.
Graduated from Ponderosa High School, Cannon. He's a Beast of the East champ as a freshman. Mendez in on a shot trying to finish near the edge. Boy, quickness right there from Cannon. How about that? Do they give him the 2? No, out of bounds.
To your point, I mean, it shows. I mean, he's game. He's here. He's here for a wrestling match, and it's you watch some of these kids wrestle, and it's like, man, what to be a fly on the wall in practice and watching some of these guys. It's just the level that they're at.
Well, and you've also, of course, got Buzakis and Gonzalez in those live groups,
three-man, four-man goes,
and on the other side, Dylan D'Amelio coming up
Right.
at 149. So, yeah, if you do not give up a takedown on any given day, you've had a really good day.
I would say so, and knowing my own background, I would have been giving up a whole. I would have 0 at the end of a lot of practices against these guys. That's putting it mildly. Just next level types of wrestling. You know, it's interesting. You watch some of these matches, and even if it's not a huge. There's some that are supposed to be pretty lopsided, right, because of who the one person is versus the other, and it's like that doesn't mean the other ones are everybody here is, you know, it seems like 2-time state champion is the rule, right? You're watching high level wrestlers, even if they're third on the depth chart, and obviously if they're in this wrestle off right now, you know, they're probably at least second on the depth chart if you want to look at it that way. And to your point, this doesn't decide anything for the year, just for the very near future.
And again, a little flurry scramble there at the end of the first period, but no score after one. Again, Jesse Mendez in the red singlet, Brandon Cannon in the gray. Match is tied 1 apiece between the red and the gray so far.
Right to that claw right. Man, that has become popular in the last 8-9 years.
Yes, indeed.
Didn't see that a whole lot.
Mendez good in all positions. Ken trying to clear that leg out of there and keep the hips moving. And again, boy, how much has this young man learned missing all that time that he did in high school? How much has he learned just in the brief time he's been here on campus?
That's a great point. It's amazing the gap that he's closed, because there had to have been a gap that needed to be, and it's just a testament to first of all to Mr. Cannon himself, and secondly to the staff at Ohio State, to the time that he's decided to put in himself. There's not a whole lot of substitutes. I know you know this as a coach yourself. Not a whole lot of substitute as time on task and sweat, and that's what this guy's put in.
That's exactly right. So still scoreless, minute 22 to go here in period number 2. Mendez on top, dropped down below the waist there, and you saw immediately. So I dropped down below the waist there, and referee immediately started counting. Now, that's one of the rule changes this year. Any situation where a top man drops down below the waist, there's a 5-second count that's going to start. And there's the count. You saw it again, got a 1 count. And so that is one of many, many rule changes that are coming. And we're going to have Jay Jaggers join us here at the next weight class. We'll talk to them about some of these. We already covered kind of the 3-point takedown. Yes. And strategically, that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch. My guess is 4-2 becomes the most common score.
That's a great point. I didn't think of that, but you're probably right. Yeah, I
can
see just
somebody gets a takedown in the first period. That bottom man maybe gets an escape. It's 3-1, and then you trade escapes in the third and second period.
Yes.
And if I were a betting man, I would say that when you add it all up at the end of the year, the most common score in NCAA wrestling this year is going to be 4-2.
Or at least during the match at some point it was 4-2. I mean, if it doesn't finish that way, you're right. That is a It definitely changed things, and
Yes.
I'm interested. And I meant to ask Coach Ryan. I can ask Coach Jaggers. It'd be interesting to find out the opinion on what they think about some of whether it makes a big difference to them or not. It definitely changes. It changes wrestling.
Sure.
It's the most fundamental thing we do in wrestling, right? And usually the guy who's this is not etched in stone. You know this, Ryan. But if there's one guy who's better in takedowns than the other guy, in theory, he should have his hand raised.
It's a huge advantage,
yeah.
right?
And so this gives him gives him the extra point. And so we'll see how. Hey, we're in the first year of it. We'll see how it all plays out.
In theory, it's supposed to increase scoring, as the new near fall rule will. 2, 3, or 4 near fall points, depending on the number of swipes you get.
What year are we in with that? Is it number?
This is the first year.
No, for the swipes.
This is the first year for the swipes. A few years back, they changed it to 2 or 4.
2 or 4. That's right.
And now this year, if you get 2, you get the 2, 3, or 4 swipes. You get 2, 3, or 4 points. So we start the third period now with riding time in the favor of Mendez, but only for a brief moment. Cannon escaped in the second period to go up 1-0, and now we've got a held stall call for. Do we have a 5 count? Yes, indeed. We had a 5 count down there on the top man. So after the action completed, there was the stall warning. So Cannon has now been warned for stalling.
Still up 1-0 here in the.
He is 2 seconds away from breaking riding time. And indeed, that is the case. So if Cannon now gives up the escape, if he were able to ride out the period, he would have had it. But now with the stall warning and a tie match with no riding time a factor right now, it's going to come down to somebody getting a takedown here in the final minute of the match.
Again, it's just I know it's a wrestle off, and Coach underlined the fact that this stuff matters, but not necessarily with a whole some lasting consequences throughout the year. Some of these matches are just showing. I mean, Jesse Mendez, Brandon Cannon. How many people would have bet on a 1-0 near the end? I'm getting Brandon would have bet on himself for sure, but it just shows the level of competition that these guys. Good for him.
40 seconds now left in period number 3. Cannon, you see, has the reach advantage. But Mendez so quick. Like the heavy hands from Cannon as well.
Yep.
Boy, that's a good shot. Just able to get underneath and get to both legs. He put Cannon to his hips. And now Mendez with the takedown here in the closing 20 seconds goes up 4-1.
I'd like to see a replay there. I'd like to see if that referee shot up out of habit 2 fingers or 3 fingers. I thought for a second there I saw 2, which I would completely understand.
Well, now Cannon almost had an opportunity for a takedown at the end, but that'll be the end of the match. And Jesse Mendez with a late takedown comes away with the riding time added in, so it's a 5-2, but it was almost a 4-2 victory.
5-2 final match. This is a returning All-American going against how impressive was Brandon Cannon in that?
Oh, very, very good. Obviously, a good showing for Cannon. We're joined now by Jay Jaggers, and you had your eye very intently on that match, and obviously for good reason. And we've talked about it already ad nauseum during the broadcast. These matches don't decide anything necessarily long-term, but how important was it for Cannon to be able to, under the lights, against an opponent like Mendez, to have a showing like that, even in a loss?
I think that was very positive for us as a staff, us as a team, Buckeye fans, because Jesse is a proven commodity. He's a beast. And for a true freshman to come in there and battle him the way he did. And I think Jesse could have probably pulled the trigger a little more. Maybe he was a little hesitant. Only maybe, I think by my count, 3 or 4 attacks. So that'll be kind of the conversation with him. You got to wrestle with a little more fury. But you saw there that what Cannon's capable of, and I think that's very encouraging for everyone.
We moved to 149 pounds now. Dylan D'Amelio in the gray singlet and on a shot on Gavin Brown trying to finish here. And that'll be that, 3 points. And that's, we started talking about the rule changes a little bit. strategically, have you had enough experience with this yet to think about match strategy and situations with a three-point takedown?
No. How could you, right? Until you're in the stress of it. And obviously, wrestle-offs are a little weird because you can't lean on your coach. I thought situationally in a couple of those matches, maybe at 125, a coach would probably tell Fenton in that situation, you're down 2-0. You got a wiry guy on top, maybe go neutral, because then if you get a takedown and hold him, you win. Or even if you get a takedown and he gets out, it's tied, So kind of guys you're just used to choosing auto down, you know what I mean? And I think, it's going to take some getting used to. And it will for probably us as a staff, too, in the corner and whatnot.
Jay, I think this is not Michigan, right? This is not Iowa. But do you agree that the dynamic of going against a teammate in front of, there's still some pretty big nerves that can go into a lot of these matches?
Yeah. You could argue that maybe that's a little more stressful, right? A little familiarity plays a role. I don't know. It's probably individually, each matchup, like maybe a little more personal, like some of these guys are real close friends.
Right.
You know how it is when you compete with your buddy.
Right.
You want to beat them. But, I hope that, and we told these guys, just make sure, just go out there and compete. This is a good dress rehearsal. The analogy I keep using to people is your opening day starter in baseball isn't necessarily the guy you're going to give the ball to in Game 7 of the World Series. So early in the season, I think it's a good test for some of these guys. And so far I like what I see, though.
D'Amelio is obviously one of your more veteran wrestlers now, and there is a big changeover from the wrestlers that you lost last year to graduation. In Sammy's case, obviously the injury there. What's his role going to be in a leadership capacity that may or may not be different than in the past?
Dylan's always been a good leader. Maybe not as vocal, because I think Sammy and Romero and Ethan Smith were that for us in the last couple of years. So with no Sammy, a lot of guys have been kind of thrust into a more vocal leadership role. Him, Carson, Jesse. So I think that's a good thing, and they're doing great.
You can't force that on somebody. That's something that kind of you either have to grow into or have to be naturally. What were you as a wrestler? What role were you in the leadership circle?
I led right away. I came in with a pretty good pedigree for wrestling, so I think there was a lot of expectations. So I felt like,
and with all due respect to the Ohio State University, it's a different level of program now than it was then.
Yeah, when I first got here, I think we were kind of at the bottom of the barrel, the Big Ten, and I was one of the more consistent performers. And then when Coach Ryan got here, then we were a little more balanced, and we're making more headlines on the national stage. But I've personally, I always kind of tried to lead with camaraderie, just inclusion, and thought I did a good job of that, of making our team, everybody on the team, really feel like they were a family.
Jay, years ago, and I just always remembered it, you mentioned, I just thought it was so impressive, you mentioned how some wrestlers were
beautiful
included.
Turk.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful job right there.
Some wrestlers were included in on the interview process for Coach Ryan when he came. I believe you sat in on the interview. What impressed you so much about Coach Ryan? I'm sure there were a lot of great candidates that came. What impressed you about Coach Ryan from the get-go?
Passion. I know. that's probably a cop-out. That's the one that I think everyone concerns to that one with Coach Ryan. Right. But, it was obvious, and you really believe that, I know he's a tireless worker, and he's willing to do anything to get an edge and give our team an opportunity to get a little bit better. And you believe that pretty early on when you wrestle for him and when you get to meet him.
We got one swipe there for some back points.
Man.
You mentioned it on the way down. That mat return.
Yeah, that was a beautiful Turk. We work on that a lot, setting the Turk on your way down. But, Brown is flexible.
Well, and that was also the kind of mat return that in a wrestle-off.
He still has the Turk, yeah.
In a wrestle-off, you kind of catch your breath for a moment because you're coming down to the mat pretty hard, and In Brown's case, maybe a little bit awkwardly, and the last thing you want to see is somebody get hurt in a wrestle-off. But the execution there for D'Amelio was outstanding.
Yeah, it was picture perfect. I think, one thing about Dylan, one thing that comes with that experience 4 or 5 years in is you know who you are, you know your sweet spots, and he knows that that's an opportunity that he can lift and return, set the Turk on the way down, and pick up some back points.
D'Amelio, a 4-time state champ from Genoa High School.
Yeah.
There was another 4-time Division III state champ that did pretty well here at Ohio State. Actually, a few of them, and you were one of them. Division I, Division II, Division III. That's not really the deciding factor for recruiting kids, no?
No, absolutely not. Talent is talent. We like good wrestlers, from everywhere, any division, any state. We just want to be the best team. So both these guys, and I think Gavin Brown would have been a 4-time state champ as well, but there was COVID.
Yeah,
Gavin Brown is a good wrestler, real slick, great feel. I think some of these box scores being close for, like the favorites, maybe. Oh, that's a good job with the float. My goodness. Bouzakis, close box score. Jesse, close box score. This is close. I'm not panicking that our, perceived starter is wrestling close. I'm more happy and encouraged that guys like Gavin and them are battling. You know what I mean?
Well, and the experience show there for D'Amelio. Brown was in on a pretty nice shot.
Yeah, that was a leg attack defense. Spends a lot of time in there. He's gotten so much better in there. This is just kind of like a workman-like performance here.
Well, and Brown, obviously a redshirt freshman. He's got a lot of future in front of him. D'Amelio has had to battle for spots his entire career.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a Buckeye wrestle-off without a little chaos.
That's
right?
true.
Shoot, every year things get thrown a little bit. He looks really good. He looks really good. And I hopefully, up at 149, we can hopefully see his motor a little bit more and use his condition, because he's in great shape always, works really hard. It's kind of what was his bread and butter in high school, is he would tire guys out and wear them out and beat them up late. I think we might see that a little more at 49. I mean, that's the hope, at least.
You're a guy that likes to look at the metrics and the numbers. Is there any kind of metric for when a guy's cutting, if you were to go back to how late in a match does that gas tank empty as compared to when he's up feeling good like he is right now, pouring it on at 149? Could he do that in the third period at 41?
He did, and he could. I think we'll just see it more, hopefully. Matches are different, though. It's hard to put them. There could be a first period of a match where there's not a lot of squeezing and somebody doesn't get tired, and then there could be a first period that's chaos and a lot of squeezing, a lot of rolling, and even the other thing that people don't realize, it's not just the physical, but the emotional of a scramble, right? That stress of I'm almost taken down, maybe I leg pass, I'm going out the back door. The guy leg passes me. There's a stress element to that where your mind goes a little bit, and then you come out of the scramble and you're a little more juiced than maybe you are physically.
How often do you try and put guys in those situations in practice to simulate that as best you can?
We do quite a bit of sparring, and encourage creativity. Encourage creativity when they're wrestling. It's you might have no ambition to set somebody in the crackdown offensively. You might want to bounce off your knee, get up to your feet, drive off to a double until you wrestle, somebody who's awesome at the crackdown.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or awesome at sitting the corner, and then you shoot a high crotch, they sit the corner and beat your shoulder, and now you're in the crackdown. So you better have some sort of wherewithal of every position. I'm you don't have to be a master of every position, but you have to have some knowledge in every position and master a few.
Took the lead with the 2-0 takedown. Oh, I'm sorry, 3-0 takedown. I already did it.
Oh, there you go. Told Nick I'm still calling the Guardians the Indians.
Jay, how was Super 32? One of the best, obviously, tournaments in the nation. I know you were down there this past. How'd that go?
Incredible tournament. Incredible tournament. Just it's amazing to see how well coached everybody is at even at the elementary age, the middle school, the high school.
Really is.
Club coaches across this country are doing a phenomenal job. That's why freshmen can come in and compete right away. The high school division was awesome. America, I mean, if it wasn't apparent on the international stage how good of a spot American wrestling is in right now, you know what I mean? You go watch the Super 32 tournament, and we're in a really healthy spot with the talent this country has and the minds that are in wrestling, and it's awesome.
To your point. Oh, go ahead.
Now we're 157 pounds here. TJ Sherrill taking on Patty Gallagher, and Gallagher has the best of it.
There, or is he
did. He was awarded the 4 backs.
No,
and looking for that tilt again. Now comes the other way with it.
I think they
didn't
didn't put it on the board.
No, it's not on the board yet, but that
Yeah,
it was
well,
signified.
Just like some guys might be a little rusty, I think we might be a little rusty on the board here, unless they held it. I can't tell.
Maybe they did. The referee held the 4 up,
So
and it certainly has appeared to be a different situation.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they correct that. I think they're going to. The assistant referee is heading to the head table.
Yeah, that's a weird one for the coach, too. I know in the one match, the riding time was a little goofy, and it's like I got to kind of chime in there. 'Cause I don't want it to be wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm not here to coach. We're supposed to be. I just want it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Jay, to your point about that Super 32, you said it's so amazing. Even these 14, these 15-year-olds, how young they are, how advanced they are. At the same time, being so young.
Yeah.
It's just.
It's the days, our days of being a 3-sport athlete.
Right.
You wrestle 4 times a month, and nobody passes you by because they're doing the same thing. I think those are over.
Yeah.
Right.
All sports, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patty Gallagher up big here, 11-1. Gallagher, redshirt sophomore from Lakewood St. Ed's, and this is a guy that was kind of on the cusp last year, and 13-11 national qualifier. You expecting big things?
Yeah, we are. Patty's been real consistent since the nationals. Healthy, wrestling really well. I think I alluded to this with D'Amelio, but I think that he's really figuring out where he wants to be as a wrestler. I think there were times last year where he was really searching. Even I know that like for a fact, and even some conversations where I thought some matches he made some decision-making errors where, you're up by 1, you can maybe sit on a counterattack or, ghost leg and get to your go behind or whatnot, and he would shoot in, and it's like you got to be patient and know where you're elite. He's elite with his go behind, snap and score. And I think that he knows that a little bit. He knows that about himself a little more. And then also his shot selection. You got to be, in high school, he's so strong. He mowed a lot of people down. Right. It didn't matter whatever shot he chose, he was going to get. So just respecting that, making sure, not predetermining 10 seconds in advance, I'm going to go to my knee pull here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's not there, right? The window closed. So I think he's doing a really good job of feeling out his wrestling, and we'll see how, if he gets another takedown here, how he gets it. So
Cheryl gave up the escape
swing
there. TJ, the brother Fritz Cheryl.
Oh, yeah.
And, boy, you want to talk about the consummate team guy, Fritz.
Yeah, that was a good shot off the head.
Looks pretty good to finish. That will be the Tech fall, 15-0.
Yep, Cheryl family's beautiful. We love the family. Fritz was our guy. TJ's gonna be a good wrestler too. He's young. He's going up kind of against a little outmatched today with Patty, but strong, good attitude, great to coach, and just keep getting better.
Coach Jaggers, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Yep.
See you, brother.
Okay, we are back here. A shorter break than we anticipated at the Schottenstein Center, but the referees weren't on center mat either.
They got the memo, but here we are.
Yeah, we're here, and we are ready to go. 165 pounds. Carter Chase in the gray singlet. Isaac Wilcox in the red. And so far, mostly close matches. The last two were opened up a little bit. Dylan D'Amelio, an 11-2 victory. Patty Gallagher with a shutout, 15-0 Tech fall early in the second period against TJ Sherrill. And, for Patty, Nick, it was, we talked to Jay Jaggers expecting big things. I don't know if you want to call it a coming out party in any way, shape, or form in a wrestle-off, but a dominant performance and setting the stage for, I'm sure he's hoping, is a big, big season.
Right, and I don't think a coming out party is inappropriate. This is obviously he's an Ohio guy, and he's ready to hopefully relatively healthy season this upcoming year. He definitely fired on all cylinders in that last match and showed some things that quite a few people probably aren't surprised about if they watched him in high school. But yeah, and again, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but nobody's going up against a wrestler who's not that good, right? and Patty just teched him, he definitely looks to be in the place that I'm sure he envisioned himself to be. But finally, the Buckeye fans can hopefully see it throughout an entire season.
Well, Cox digging in the underhook here. No Bryce Hepner in this wrestle-off. We've talked about that already with Coach Ryan. Takedown on the edge there, close to, but nothing awarded as of yet. And they will be out of bounds with action. Back to the center, still scoreless. But Bryce Hepner is likely going to see, if he's healthy, an awful lot of the starts this year.
Yeah, and that obviously that was the intended plan from right off the bat, particularly because of the high school career. Again, all these guys were good, Bryce particularly so. One thing you can't predict in this sport, I know you know this, Ryan, I know it's the injury thing, right? And so as long as Bryce can get healthy, it seems like he's on the mend, according to Coach Ryan, and once he's in the lineup, if he can stay healthy, he'll definitely be a bonus for Ohio State this year. Ohio State fans just cross their fingers and hope that can be the case.
Carter Chase from Marion Pleasant, state champion for Pleasant High School.
Big gas tank.
Yeah.
Big gas tank.
Will Cox, 3-time state champion in Utah. He was also an all-state linebacker.
Yeah, he, it speaks to the you can't get on any forum. Not that I'm on forums a lot. Maybe I just gave myself away a little bit there. But where it's talked about, somebody's throwing up football, wrestling helps football. It's really, there seems to be really a push, in the past few years of, and it's something that kind of, it's innate. You almost know that would be the case, but wrestling coaches have really done a good job lately of getting to the football players like, listen, we can go through a laundry list of people who were very good football players, and they credit wrestling as being a big contributor to that.
Oftentimes you have to convince the coaches as well.
You're right. I do think it's getting better. It used to be, for years, the coaches were pretty territorial, right? And I think the weight cutting kind of scared some and whatnot, understandably. But I do think football coaches are coming around a little more as a whole. In seeing the value. There's just too many in college and in the NFL who for they talk about the things that they picked up in wrestling, the leverage, the discipline, the work ethic, and I forget who it was that was saying that. Some of the football games I was in, I wish I could remember, but it's not an original. I remember hearing somebody say, after a 2-hour football game, go ahead.
No takedown there.
Right, no, it was,
and that's a rule change.
Right.
They've done away with the hand-touch takedown. You have to have control beyond reaction time, and that was the case right there. They hand-touched the mat. Last year, that's a takedown. Not so in 2023.
That's why some of these wrestles are good for us, too, for us to start seeing it ourselves. But back to where we were talking about football, it's just you see it. There's so many college and pro NFL athletes that talk about the great things that they picked up from wrestling. I do think down at the high school level, it's translated into coaches who aren't so worried. High crotch shot attempt there.
And just a 1-0 match with under 40 seconds to go here in period number 2. Wilcox with the escape here in the second period. Chase will have choice of position in the third. And right now in a 1-point match, you would assume he's going to take down. Now, Coach Jaggers was talking about the fact that more and more all sports are becoming specialized, so that's one of those battles you have to fight. The 3-sport athlete is a rare breed, especially at the larger high schools.
Right.
You still see it at the small school Division III level for wrestling and even, higher numbered divisions for other sports.
I think the size of the athlete matters too, right? It's probably a little easier. You're not giving up too much if you're a smaller weight guy because you're probably not a star on the football to begin with. We start seeing that battle right around 160, 165 and higher. That's perhaps where kids feel like they got to make a choice.
Third period underway. Wilcox on top, Chase to the bottom, but not for long. Time match, no riding time a factor here.
And no takedowns yet, just all.
So that's one of the things that will be a transition in the stands. Forever and ever and ever, you hear,
Right.
and now it's going to be,
Right. I think we'll hear two for a little bit for a while.
Probably.
And then kind of a mumbling mix, and then eventually we'll get used to. And you've been honest enough, and I think so have I. It's going to be us too.
Oh, of course. It's a learning and repetition like anything else, right? Reps. Got to have reps.
Right. It's the Commanders. It's the Guardians. It's getting used to anything that is. It was this way for years, and now it's this way.
Habits are hard to break. That's why they're habits.
That's right.
Out of bounds they go. No stall call for either wrestler there. Then 5 to go in the third period. 165-pound wrestle-off. There will not be a match at 174. It was scheduled to be Carson Hartzla against Rocco Welch. But Hartzla, as has unfortunately been the case throughout much of his career, is a little bit dinged up.
You know, during this little break, I had the misfortune, I'll just be honest and call it that, of wrestling Carson's father when we were in college, Moran. And, you know, who was it? Was it Randall Tex Cobb who said that his fight with Larry Holmes was a big old game of tag, and he was it the whole match. It was pretty apropos for my match with Moran. The only solace I could perhaps find was he was doing it to everybody else that he wrestled.
Yeah, you had company.
But it was.
Moran has done an awful lot of training of wrestlers here in Central Ohio.
Really has. So many kids credit him, appropriately so, for being instrumental in their progress and the technique, the system he runs, the training. He's just really helped out a lot of people in the Tri-State. Jason Nolf out at Penn State, and some of the guy truly the Quad State. Not even just the Tri-State, but people come from afar to train with him. A lot like the Jordan camps here in Ohio.
Headgear issue solved for Carter Chase. We're coming down to the final about 40 seconds here in this match. There have not been many committed shots. Not a whole lot of scoring opportunities for either wrestler. Wilcox dropped to a knee there, but no real penetration. 30 seconds to go. We've seen Wilcox dig that underhook a couple of times now. The first period, now trying it here in the third.
Yeah,
nothing off of it.
And I don't think it'd be understated that these guys know each other so well, and it's like, I know when I shoot on this, he usually does this, and I don't want to get in that, and so sometimes perhaps, I'm not psychoanalyzing anybody, but, it could, a little bit of tentativeness might sometimes take place as far as the offense go, because that he knows that that little game that comes in, and I know coaches just want you to let it roll and not think and react, but I think sometimes when you know a wrestler so well and you bang in practice every day that you wonder, it almost becomes chess matches in these types of things.
They're going to put 2 minutes on the clock here for overtime. Let's see what they do. Yes, indeed. They'll put 2 minutes up on the clock for overtime. Sudden death. Now, Wilcox is a senior and has been through this several times. He has kind of been the Swiss Army knife for the Buckeyes.
That's a great way of that's a really apt way of describing him. And what's interesting about this overtime period, obviously, is first takedown. It's sudden victory, right?
Yes, indeed.
And that has not happened in this match yet. So we'll see if they can get it done in this sudden victory period, or we start to go to the next level, shall we say?
Now, nobody's really been able to kind of create an angle or get a level change to clear arms yet.
Right.
See now where the gas tanks start to come into play a little bit. There's a shot by Wilcox.
Nice waterfall reaction.
And didn't finish it beyond reaction time. Now into a scramble, onto his back. That is close, and that is two. They're going to allow him to finish off with a possible fall, but he'll get instead a couple of back points for make it a 6-1 win for Isaiah Wilcox over Carter Chase here at 165 pounds. And again, right now, we've used this term several times tonight, a data point for Wilcox over Chase, but certainly with Bryce Hepner waiting in the wings, once he is healthy, he is going to have something to say about who the Buckeyes' 165-pounder is.
Absolutely, and just so many of the things that we've talked about so much tonight. That final score was 6-1. 5 points were scored in the last, like that was a 1-1 match,
right,
for 99% of that match. So a whole lot closer, obviously, than the final score. But final score was 6-1 because of the new Rule 3-point takedown and then 3 points on the backs. And so here we are.
184 pounds. Ryder Rogotsky will be in the gray singlet, and Seth Shoemate will wear the red. Both of these wrestlers are freshmen. Shoemate is a red shirt. Shoemate, a 3-time Ohio State champion.
Yeah, he was another COVID casualty as far as not getting his 4th one. That was in 2020. And so you're not anything until you do it right, but very realistically was probably going to be another Ohio 4-timer.
Rogotsky, only one state championship in Minnesota, but placed 5 times as they allow junior high wrestlers to compete.
They did well. He did well at the Super 32, which is not, I've got to find exactly what that finish was, but I know he did well at the Super 32, which we all know what type of tournament that is.
Pretty good competition.
Yes.
Shoemate trying to turn the corner here and finish off a takedown, and looks like he'll get it after a little bit of a scramble there. Indeed, Shoemate gets the 2. And good lift, and looked like maybe he wanted that Turk on the mat return as well, as we saw from Dylan D'Amelio earlier. Boy, not a whole lot clean here so far between these two. As we are here now in the upper weights, 184 pounds, we will be joined by Bo Jordan, who is these days working the upper weights, middleweight during most of your days, but this is your task now, yes?
Things, Tom sets it up to where these guys can kind of pick who they want to work with. So, some of obviously the bigger guys a lot of times gravitate toward me, but it's nice.
Bo, I got to ask, you're still at an age where you can, I'm imagining, still go, first of all, let me just tell you, it goes quickly. But I'm imagining you're still going live when a live go is needed, and you're still able to bang with these guys and trade off and teach them a little lesson at times?
Yeah, I try to, I'm on the mat a lot. I'm pretty much every day, in the mornings with the guys sometimes, and then in the afternoons if anyone needs one, or if I just feel like scrapping, I'll jump in a lot. But honestly, we all do still. So Tom still gets on the mat, usually with 25s or 33s. But
see, that's the difference.
Yeah, and then and Jay and Logan do too.
Right.
So it's
3-1 match here with Shoemate coming away with the takedown in the first period. It was a scramble through it. It was a scramble to get out of it. These are two guys that are young bulls looking to make their mark this year. Shoemate up 3-1, 40 seconds to go in the first period.
Bo, I saw recently, it was kind of running through some of the wrestling forums that and I asked Couch about it. He said, "Oh yeah, we do that for the half hour live goes that you guys go through, and there's conditions too. Both people have to agree that, like, if somebody wants a drink of water, because the other guy has to agree. They never finish with one guy on the bottom. You have to get out before you can even come to one of those. But you go as long and as hard as you can, and those half-hour goes only end if both people agree it's time to take a quick break. And then what does that do for these guys? Not just from a cardio standpoint, but just from I'm imagining it's a toughness test too, is it?
Yeah, 30 minutes is a long time, right? A 7-minute match is a lot shorter than a 30-minute go, right? But, no, it's good. I think we want them to, for the 30-minute go, you can't wrestle as intense as you could in a 7-minute match, obviously. So it lowers their intensity a little bit, and, just a good block of time to get a lot of wrestling in. But, yeah, you find out really quick who doesn't have much cardio and who does, and, a lot of more time on top and bottom spent there, and so that's why we wanted to end on their feet, because we don't want someone to take them down and ride them the whole time and all that. So,
but in that rule being, and it can't end with anybody on the bottom.
mm-hmm.
That's asking and begging. That's just demanding fight. It can't end up that way. Somebody's got to get out.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they want to. It's pretty miserable to get rode for 30 minutes. Right. So yeah, it's good. We don't do those often, but every once in a while we'll hit a few. Most of those are preseason when we're just trying to build a good base for the guys and stuff.
Good crack down there off of the shot, and the takedown is awarded. So Rogatsky goes up now 5-3.
Nice mat return there.
So obviously there's not been a lot of matches that were seen by the general public on TV or Big Tens or Nationals. That's a good cast over, and a reversal to his back for Shoemate. Rogatsky comes back to his stomach, at least for now. That Navy ride slips out. But so for these two young guys, what have you seen in the room from them to give the Ohio State faithful a preview of what they're going to see from one of these guys if they man 184 this year?
Yeah, both they're a little different. Rogatsky's a little more unorthodox. Has a lot of big moves, scrambly. Does some wrestles from a 2-on-1. Does some interesting stuff. Throws two, cradles, and pretty scrambly. He'll reach back a lot. Do things that a lot of wrestlers might not. Little unorthodox. And Shoemate's a little more straightforward, but he does throw two and some underhook stuff. Strong. So yeah, it's good to see these guys compete against each other and kind of, because practice is a little different. I like them out here in front of everyone, put a little stress on them, get down to weight before next week before we tap down for the second time, and yeah, it's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's always nice to watch the contrast of styles, like a wide open scrambler who violates all the quote unquote rules, right? Don't reach back, don't all that, against a guy that's like a tank coming straight ahead, and just the contrast of styles is always something I found pretty fascinating when you get two guys like this getting after it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rogatsky had the all-time pinning record for Minnesota, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, he's unorthodox, but a lot of time it pays off for him, Right.
Shoemate competing for 184 pounds. He has had to come down from where he was in high school and then early in his college career. Mm-hmm. And then the word kind of came out today. Gavin Huffman also is planning on dropping to 184 pounds. So you've got some guys in the room, big natural athletes, trying to get themselves down to a very different weight class. What's the challenge for a guy like that over the course of a long season to get to that weight and properly maintain it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been there before, right? So he was there for a few years before at 84 and decided to go up. And, I'll let him speak on his decision on going down and everything. But he's, I think he's a little more of a veteran now. He knows the ropes, kind of knows how to hold his weight. I think he's got a lot of it figured out, All-American. So, I think, it'll always be a good weight cut. But I think if he does it right, which he will, it'll, he can make it just fine.
What's the difference? And you obviously spent your entire life on a mat. A high school weight cut versus a college weight cut, and your maturation and your responsibility for it.
Yeah, I mean, in high school it was, I cut a lot of weight in high school and college, but in high school it was, I could get away with, doing some maybe not the right way to cut weight, losing it all last second, or being a little sloppy with my diet. It wasn't, it didn't really show up my wrestling a whole lot. And then in college, it does instantly. So you have to do everything right. You got to make sure your diet's in check, and even just making sure you feel good and getting the right nutrition just before a match. Because in high school it was like I would eat Subway after every weight cut and stuff, and I'd be drinking like a pop.
What was your go-to sub?
Drinking what was it? I think it was chicken bacon ranch. Chicken bacon ranch melt, yeah.
Which all the nutritionists say is perfect right before wrestling.
Yeah, right. Of course. I would have that, coffee, and just all the Gatorade in the world, right. And then at the end of the day, I'd be eating Starburst and Sour Patch Kids,
right.
Soda. So
there you go, kids. That's how you do it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, Bo, you're too humble to break. You were the type of wrestler that could absolutely didn't matter. I needed every advantage I could get, and so I couldn't. I had to look for every advantage. I couldn't do those things.
Well, I realized in college that it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well, the margins are so small as Rogatsky gets another escape here, and that will tie the match 7 apiece. We've had some offense in this one.
Oh.
Well, how does this one go? Shoemate will wrap up the ankles and get the takedown at the out-of-bounds line. Boy, and Bo, you hit the nail right on the head. We are seeing anything but traditional wrestling style from Rogotsky.
Yeah, I mean he's he does a lot of things that you probably wouldn't show as a coach, but it a lot of times it works out for him, and I think that's why there's a high-scoring match right now.
10-7, Shoemate on top with 20 seconds left to go. Now make it a 2-point match after the escape.
A little more traditional. That was a straight-on double-leg attempt by Rogotsky.
Well, he knows he needs points. He's in on a shot. Boy, Shoemate's strong. He'll finish it off with a takedown. There will not be any riding time, 13-8.
Yeah, and that shot was born of necessity. Time was ticking down, so a lot of times hopefully this will work, but if it doesn't, I went down swinging.
Coach Bo Jordan, let's talk about the fans here at Ohio State. Good crowd on hand here. Ticket sales. How are we looking for the upcoming season here at the Jennings?
Yeah, we're looking great. I mean, a pretty good crowd tonight. The coaches clinic and free for all fans to jump in. So this is good. But we've almost sold. So we think we should be sold out or really close. Maybe 20-some tickets left for 2,500 season tickets. So we've never sold completely out. So it's good. So excited about the upcoming season. Got Edinburgh November 12th, I believe, and that's a home opener.
Yeah, so let's see who we got here at home. You got Edinburgh coming up November the 12th. December 10th, Pitt will be here. And then you have a 3-home dual stretch in January. So you're not going to do much traveling, really, outside of the collegiate duels. You'll be home for 4 consecutive duels, January 5, 12, and 19. Cornell, that's going to be a tough one. And then you get into the Big Ten schedule. You've got Michigan at home. You've got Penn State on the road. Iowa not on the dual meet schedule this year. When you see that schedule come out and Iowa's not on it, is that a disappointment to not be able to wrestle that team?
I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten, but yeah, I was one of them, and I think during my career we hit them almost every year but one. So I mean, we'd love to get obviously in a year we can have Iowa. That's good,
It's like the Big 27 now, so it's hard to get everybody every year,
right? Yeah, exactly. And they're one of the ones in our conference that we rotate in and out with. So it's always good to wrestle them.
197 pounds here. Mike Masita in the red singlet. Luke Geog is quickly ahead 3-0 in the gray singlet. Geog's a big boy.
Yeah, and he started out last year at 84, backing up Romero, and, thought he was getting bigger, so wanted to make the move to 97. So, said, cool, go for it. And, he's definitely got a lot bigger. Last year he wrestled a couple matches at 97, too, I think, against Cornell and, a couple other ones, and he definitely wasn't this big yet.
So. How much happier do you notice a guy coming into practice is trying to gain weight as opposed to lose it?
I mean, sometimes it's hard maintaining and gaining weight as much as it's cutting. But, yeah, it's definitely usually their mood's a lot better, just say that.
Bo, it's got to be really special to have Lou Rosselli back in this side of town, back in Ohio, back in Columbus, leading the ORTC. How much... you were here before and after. You were here when he was obviously an assistant coach here, and all the freestyle stuff that he helped so many wrestlers out with, in addition to the collegiate style. And then obviously he was out of Oklahoma. Now he's back. How much has Lou meant to this program?
Yeah, I mean he was a coach here, I believe for 2 years, my freshman sophomore year. Okay. When I was here before he left. So yeah, I mean I like Lou. He's awesome. I think he's a good coach, great trainer. Our guys like him. He coached with Tom, and he coached, Jay and Logan and me. So it's he fits right in, and it's always good to have another set of eyes.
Right. I remember Logan being interviewed not too long after and Lou was, and Kyle, so many guys that just give him credit for so much of their improvement, and I just, the fact that he's back with the RTC, I can only imagine is a boon for Ohio State. It's just a good thing for the program overall.
For sure, yeah. He's great to have around. Great to have in the room, and it's good.
Another takedown for Geog has him up by a 6-1 score. Redshirt freshman. What's been the biggest area of improvement for him coming into this year from when he came onto campus last year?
I'd say a few things. Bottom, I think bottom was a little bit of an issue, and we worked hard on that. It always is, though. It's something you got to constantly touch. But he's doing a better job on bottom, and I think sometimes he would just try to shoot through anything. He would just pick his time to go and shoot. He's a little more calculated now. So in locking his hands, a lot of times he'd shoot, go to one hand instead of a locked hand right away. And it still happens here and there, but for the most part, you want two hands around the leg, right, not one. So he's those are small adjustments, but that and just getting tougher, getting better, wrestling good guys.
Maceda's not for an upperweight guy. He's not a bad legger when he's on top, isn't that right? I mean, he's got a penchant for riding legs and doing some damage on top when he gets on there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good. He can ride two legs in. He came down from heavyweight. I think he weighted probably close to 240, 235 at one point, and made the decision. I'm going to lose a little bit of the fat, come down and hit 97. So that was good. It was good to see. It's a big commitment. It's a lot of weight, but he did it over a long period of time.
And I think it's important to say that, not to disparage the upper weight guys, but in the spirit of full disclosure, in all honesty, usually your leggers, you don't see that a ton at that weight class. And the fat, some of the leg rides and some of the stuff that he's done in the past is just impressive for an upper weight guy.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of leg riding usually at heavyweight.
Right.
I think Kirkfleet rides legs. He likes that right leg in.
Right.
So he rides some boots, the Penn State heavyweight, but.
Right.
He's got a pretty specific body type, though, as well. I mean,
yeah,
there's some guys that just aren't built that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a feel thing, too. Usually it's not something you develop. It's something you either have or you don't, for the most part, riding legs. But
and Maceda's got that kind of a frame. He's long. He's got some shoulders. He looks like he could carry more weight on that frame if he put it on there.
For sure. And he did. He did for a long time there until
he did carry
it.
6-2 here with 1 minute and 15 seconds to go in the second period. This is the penultimate match of these wrestle-offs. We've got one more to go at 285 pounds, Nick Feldman and Hogan Swensky. But, as we look at the lineup that we have seen so far tonight, and these wrestle-offs don't determine anything other than who wins a wrestling match against a teammate here tonight. We've talked about it time and time again. This is not a season decision, but, you're looking at potentially 5 guys in the lineup this year that were not regular starters last year. And it seems like it's been a while since Ohio State has been able to say that. There's been a lot of continuity, and there were a lot of seniors that were lost last year. So who are some of the guys in the room that have stepped up to say, okay, Sammy's not here. He's here physically and in spirit, of course, but Caleb, Ethan, Malik, these guys are no longer with us. Who's stepped up to be that next crop of Buckeye leaders?
Yeah, I mean, we lost, Malik, Caleb, Ethan, Tate, who were all starters, obviously. They've been here for a while. Romero was here when I was still competing. So my senior year was his redshirt year. So with that extra COVID, really stretched things out. And, basically we want to see a lot of our freshmen and some of the upperclassmen step up and lead. Sasso was our captain and leader, and obviously he's not in the lineup this year, but it's been a little different, having him in and all those guys leaving. So we're looking for all these guys that we recruited and that are wrestling. It's time to step up, upperclassmen, and it was Nate and Kyle. They were both captains when my freshman year, and I was. So we want to see them step up and lead and do their job.
2 periods gone, and it is all Geog so far, 9-3 with 3 takedowns. The takedown now, of course, is worth 3 points, and we're trying to pound into our own heads as much as the viewing public out there. Again, the third period, and see if Maceda has a comeback in him. Now, with the 3-point takedown, Bo, it's going to nobody knows what effect it's going to have, right? We're going to have to get some data. But what it does is allow a guy in a position of Maceda right now to think that a third period comeback in a 6-point match is a realistic possibility, right?
Yeah, for sure. Really, he's 2 takedowns away pretty much, right? From being right back in the match.
Literally.
So, the biggest thing for me with the 3-point takedown is a 7 takedown tech.
Right.
Like how many times did, Colin Moore be on takedown 10, 11, and maybe a couple points. So it's a 7 takedown tech's a lot different. So, I think a lot of obviously the guys that are really good on their feet, got a lot of shooters and guys that go after the takedowns. It's going to help them out quite a bit.
What do you feel? And I'm sure it varies with. I know it varies with some people I've talked to. But what's the overall? Anytime there's change, there's opinions. about that change, right?
Yeah.
Among the coaching staff, among people you've talked to, yourself, what's your overall thought of the switch, from the biggest switch being from the 2-point takedown for millennia, right, for forever, now in folk style wrestling, now being switched to 3. What's your thoughts? What's the thoughts on your staff members? Overall good, overall, eh?
Yeah, me personally, I kind of like it. I think if you can take someone down 7 times, it's pretty dominant. So I'm all for it. 3-point takedown, that's fine. But I mean, every year we do have a ton of rule changes, and it's kind of hard to keep up with. We watch videos all the time.
15 this year.
Yeah, the next year it's like, all right, now it's this and this. So I think it's all good, but it is a lot. There's a lot of change every year seems to be happening. So
especially with something so foundational as the takedown.
Right.
This was just it's so foundational in wrestling.
Yeah, it does seem weird to yell 3, right, instead of 2.
Geog pouring it on here in the third period as we head toward the final 15 seconds. $15-5 the score here as they go out with under 14 remaining. One of the things that's so important for any college wrestling program is the support of the community, both showing up to matches, but also financial support and fundraising and things like that. And I know that's something that you're involved here. What's kind of the process for making sure that your team has what it needs, and how can people get involved?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to get involved. You can go online, go to just look at our website and stuff. You can go to OhioStateWrestling.com and jump on. There's obviously you can donate there, but obviously get in contact with me, and my email, phone number's on there. A lot of the coaching staff is too. But yeah, I mean, it's not always financially too. Just being here, supporting, being in the atmosphere. Having a lot of people here for Wrestle-Offs tonight's great. But Tom's done a great job, of leading and doing a lot of fundraising and the financial part of it with obviously Jennings Wrestling Facility, this and the Cavelli, having our restroom attached to where we compete's nice. I remember the days in Steelwood where be in the dead of winter and be cutting weight there, then you have to get in your car and drive over and drive over to St. John's.
You're not going to keep that sweat going.
No, yeah, you definitely lose it, and this is nice. So,
well, here is our first look at Nick Feldman.
Yeah.
Just over a year ago, he suffered that neck injury that kept him from competing in the wrestle-off and all season long, and he's trying to get to a quick takedown here against Hogan Swensky. How excited are you, Coach Jordan, to see him on the mat, even though it's in the same singlet?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. There's obviously a lot of excitement about getting him here. He's a great guy. I work with him a lot, and, we get along really well. And he's a shooter. He's exciting to watch because, he's heavyweight. He's a shooter. He has a lot of different attacks. So, it's just been a long time coming. It's obviously he was out for a while, and he's back doing good, healthy. So it's
Would you show him where the weight room is, please?
Yeah, right. His legs are like concrete cinder blocks.
One of the great things about heavyweight or the evolution of the years from, last 15, 20 years is you're seeing more shooters. Once upon a time, if we're honest, there was a lot of leaning into each other, and maybe you hope you catch. These guys coming out now, and Feldman in particular, but just even in recent memory, the leg attacks they make, almost like midweight type. It's just midweight class type guys. The athleticism of these guys, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, heavyweight's a really deep weight class, especially this year. And I think what did you lose? You lose Paris, and then pretty much everyone's back, right? A lot of those top guys, and you had some obviously some other good guys in the mix. So it's a deep weight class, and a lot of them, they're shooters.
Is Stevenson coming back around?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Coach Ryan predicted last year that he was going to wrestle.
Who's that?
Gable. This guy named Gable.
Yeah.
This guy named Gable.
Right. Gable Stevenson. What an athlete.
Boy, that's quick feet.
Yeah.
Excellent change of direction. Feldman down with a takedown again. And Hogan Swensky is no small guy. He's not a huge heavyweight, but this is a lot of human being.
Yeah, he's put a lot of weight on the past year too. Done a good job. Tried out for the football team too. Didn't quite make it, but he's pretty athletic and definitely a lot bigger. He's definitely not a pudgy heavyweight or a small heavyweight.
And if I heard correctly, there's quite a bit of athletic DNA in his. I think his mom was quite the basketball star at Miami, University of Miami down in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but
Right.
I know she was really good. So it's definitely some big, tall people in the genes.
Right.
Feldman up 6-1 here with 24 seconds to go in the first period. There was so much hype coming into last year with that recruiting class, the top 3 guys all coming here to Ohio State. Jesse Mendez is the only guy that wound up wrestling all season long and wound up on the podium. How exciting is it to get all 3 of those guys in the lineup at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it is exciting. We all recruited those guys. We thought they were the best. And, Jesse did a great job last season. Said he was a true freshman. And, it's hard being ready that early. Obviously, you see some really good guys doing it, but, everyone wants to point to 1 or 2 people like, oh, they did it. It's really hard, though. So a lot of guys aren't really ready that early, but he did a great job last season. But it's, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see how the lineup shakes out. But, obviously having all 3 of these guys, ready to wrestle this season's good.
Bo, if people are watching a live stream, they're obviously a wrestling fan. There's a little bit of effort that's needed to tune in to watch something like this, and which means a lot of people know your dad. How is your dad doing as far as does he ever miss coaching, or is he just where is he with? I can't think it's something that you ever completely give up. So how's your dad doing, and does he miss coaching or certain elements of it, or?
Yeah, he's doing good. A lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, so I think that keeps him at bay a little bit. Right. But he definitely, I think there's no doubt he definitely misses it. The good thing is he runs wrestling camps all summer, so he's still coaching.
Yeah, for sure,
a lot of kids and coaching. A lot of people. A lot of the Graham guys come in and train all summer, so he sees them, and so it's to get his coaching fix.
Right.
But I'm sure he misses it.
Right.
But we got 5 grandkids now.
Right.
I have 4. Mickey has 1, and so they're keeping him busy, and the hunting and fishing do too.
You joined the four kid club, huh? On there.
Yeah.
Do you remember sleep at least? Do you remember it?
I do. I'm starting to get it again. My youngest is 3, but 4 and we're done, I think. So.
That's awesome. Okay.
So, obviously, you grew up on a wrestling mat as a guy that talks to recruits coming to campus. How does your experience growing up in wrestling help you talk to recruits and see or help them see their future here at Ohio State?
I mean, first off, you usually have a lot in common, right? A lot of these guys who recruit and have done the same thing their whole lives, right? They're constantly wrestling match. They're living it.
That's good.
And, so initially you just find out you have a lot in common. A lot of the wrestling world does. So, for me personally, my experience was great here. Obviously, I'm still here for that reason. I love it. I'm coaching here now. I wrestle here. I'm coaching here now. I love Ohio wrestling, Ohio State. But, for me, a lot of it when the guys come in is just let them know who we are. I feel like we're pretty normal staff, and we're obviously serious about winning, but we don't take a lot of life too seriously. We try to make it as fun as we can for these guys, and that's kind of the environment we like to have is keeping things fun, keeping it light, but obviously we're taking winning very serious.
Right now, Feldman with a serious lead after 2 periods, 16-3. With over 2 minutes of riding time on the clock. He has had all the offense. Svensky will take bottom and will get the optional start from Feldman. Let's see if he tries to finish this off with a tech fall as well. So you mentioned the coaching staff as a group. We know that Jaggers is the best dresser. Who's the best card player?
I don't know. I don't play much cards unless it's hand and foot with my mom and dad. So pretty lame, But I'm not sure who the best card player is.
Now, I remember, I believe Jay dabbled in the guitar for a while. I know he's very into music. I know he had a podcast during COVID that going on. He's a pretty talented and multifaceted guy. Are there any other coaches that have some talents that the viewing public might be surprised to find out about?
We all like to fish. We're all pretty good fishermen.
Right.
So,
well, I think you caught some
crazy.
whoppers here to get in your starting lineup. Coach Jordan, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that's going to bring a finish to it as Nick Feldman finishes off his match with a 20-4 tech fall victory, and that will do it from the Ohio State University. The wrestle-offs have come and gone. Again, they don't mean anything in terms of who's going to wrestle at the national tournament, but it's an interesting thing to learn here at the early portion of the season. Nick, these Buckeyes, they competed hard tonight.
Yeah, and like Coach said, it's a data point among many. We're still 5 months from the national tournament. It's an important day. It's not insignificant. It gives a decent temperature of how things are right now. But as we all know, whether it's things can change during the year, but at least as far as the beginning of the season, we kind of now have a snapshot of where things stand.
All right, so that finishes things up here from the campus of the Ohio State University. For all the coaches, Tom Ryan, Jay Jaggers, Bo Jordan, and for Nick Corey, I'm Ryan Mitchell saying thanks for being with us from Ohio State.
recording studio, Simra.